Welcome to Differential Calculus class. So in this class, we'll be introducing differential calculus. So differential calculus, what does it do? And what is the focus of differential calculus? Differential calculus is the aspect of mathematics that deals with finding the derivatives of functions. Differential calculus, we see, deals with finding the derivatives of functions. So what do I mean by derivatives of function? Derivative of functions simply means the rate of change in the dependent variable of that function with respect to a unit change in the independent variable of that function. For example, let's say we have a single, so let's say we have y is a function of x. Okay, so derivatives is about by how much, that is the magnitude of change in y when x changes by a unit. So whenever you see the y dx, what we are finding is what? We are finding the rate of change in y with respect to a unit change in x. That if this variable x changes by 1 unit, by how much will x, by how much will y change? That is what is meant by derivative. Okay. Also, if we have a function that contains two independent variables, you can see here we have one dependent variable, we have one independent variable. Let's say we have a function that contains two independent variables. Let's say we have z equals so f of x and y. So we can find the partial derivatives of this. So by saying we have the partial derivative of z with respect to x. So this measure the rate of change in z with respect to a unit change in x. Also, we can also have partial derivative of this z with respect to y. This also measures the rate of change in z with respect to a unit change in y. Okay, so in all, when we are talking about derivatives, we are talking about finding the rate of change in the dependent variable with respect to a unit change in the independent variable. Okay, another language for derivatives, okay, is simply slope. Simply slope. So we also call it gradient. Gradient. So when you are asked to find the slope of a function, so we are asked to find the derivative of that function. When you are asked to find the gradient of a function, you are asked to find the derivative of a function. So for example, if I have y is a function of x, if I find the derivative of this, let's say the y dx of this function, we are finding the slope of this function, and at the center the gradient. So slope is equal to gradient, that is, you are finding the derivatives of this function. Okay, so finding the derivative of functions is the focus of differential calculus. So now, what is this distinction between differentiation, and derivative? So one is the process. The other one is outcome. So differentiation is the process while derivative is the outcome. For example, if we are given this function, say y is a function of x, and we are asked to find the derivatives. Okay, so the method applied, the rules we apply to find the derivative is the differentiation. The rule applied to find the derivative is the called differentiation, because that's the process, okay, through which we find the derivative. Okay, differentiation, sorry. But the outcome, that our final answer, is known as the derivative. Okay, the final answer is what is known as what? The derivatives. So our final result is known as what? The derivative. So let me also use another example so that you get it clear. So let me use figures and variables now. Let's say we have y equals 2x squared. And we are asked to find the derivatives of this. So, here we are going to apply power rule function. Here, we are going to apply power function rule. So, the y, the x, will be equals to 2 multiplied by 2. Here we have 4x. You subtract 1 from the power, it remains 1. So, this 4x is called the derivative. Derivative, okay, of y equals 2x squared. Okay. But the process, the rule that we apply to find this derivative is known as differentiation. What is the rule? The rule will apply is that the y, the x, is equals to 2. We multiply the power by 2. 2 times 2, then we have x, we have 2 minus 1. This is the process, the method we have, the rule we apply that help us to find this result. This process is known as differentiation. Okay, summarily, so differentiation implies the process, the method that helps us to find the derivative of a function, while the derivative of a function is the outcome of the process. That is the final answer we get when we follow the process. Thank you. See you in the next video.